Moms of Reddit, what do you know about your child that you will never tell him or her? Have a daughter in college. Her first summer back home, I went to wash all her clothes she brought back. As a college girl, it was at least 4 loads. As I sorted her clothes before washing them, out tumbled 4 toys that go where the sun don't shine, wrapped in a bag. They were huge. Like, huge. So I carefully wrapped them back up and slid them back into her things. I was/am a paternal figure to my orphaned younger siblings, and there is something I will never tell my sister. When she was going through a terrible period as an addict, late teens, she stole my mom's wallet and all of her credit cards/bank accounts had to be canceled and changed. Our mom was in bad health, but had a huge life insurance policy she had gotten almost 15 years prior, when she was healthier. When the accounts were canceled, she forgot to change the automatic payments for the insurance. It was declined and subsequently canceled. She couldn't get another policy anymore. She had too many health problems. My mom told me about this all in confidence. Less than 2 years later, our mom died. Everyone thought she had a life insurance policy to help us, but she didn't. She left absolutely nothing. I'm the only one who knows why. It would kill my sister to know that her addiction cost us several $100,000. The recovery from my mom's death was really bad. Siblings had to move in with me, etc. And the insurance money could have saved us a long period of financial and emotional struggle. My sister is an incredibly kind, loving, and loyal person. She was a teenager at the time and going through a horrible period in her life regarding untreated mental illness. She came out of it and is one of my favorite people in the world. This incident is the only thing she's done to hurt/screw anyone over. She was just young and hurting and naive. It'll never be worth telling her. She's been through enough. We all have. I will never have more resentment than love for my little sis. Knowing something like that could push your sister back into a bad place, but it couldn't have been easy to keep that a secret. Your mother would be proud of you. Thanks. My mom never told her when it happened because she didn't want to make her carry that guilt. My mom knew she wasn't going to be alive more than a few more years and that she wouldn't be able to get insurance again. She chose not to tell my sister. I followed her example. Bro, if I was in this situation, I don't think I would want to tell or be told. It just sounds devastating. When my kid was 3, he created a full suit of body armor out of maxi pads, and I have photographic evidence. I've answered this before, but my teenage daughter writes spicy fan fiction on Tumblr and has thousands of followers. She doesn't know that I know, and it's pretty damn good too. How do you feel about that? Actually, I'm one of those liberal moms that's okay with my daughter having a healthy view of doing the deed, and she does. I've always been very open with her, and we talk about pretty much everything. I was turning my daughter's mattress when I came across a notebook full of unclothed women. She must have been putting it together for some time. Not wanting to embarrass her or violate her trust, I finished flipping the mattress and put the notebook back just as I found it. That was years ago, and she still has no idea. My own mother had trust issues, though I'd never given her a reason to mistrust me. It was just her nature, I guess. In any case, I vowed to raise my children to know the value of their word and that they could ask me anything. And I'd tell them the truth. Also, as long as they told me the truth, absolutely anything could be worked out. Want to piss mom off? Lie to me. Then stand back. God, this thread makes me think about all the embarrassing stuff my mom must have found. All these years, those pictures I had below my mattress and below my books on my bookshelf, I never thought about what would happen once I left home. When I was in high school, my mom got Victoria's Secret catalogs and I used to sneak them and keep them for, viewing pleasure. One time I got home from school or whatever and she had cleaned my room, which I had always hated, and they were all neatly stacked in the closet. That was embarrassing. That's nothing. I was still living at home about 2 years past fashionable and had a pocket pee in my room. I left it under the bed one night after I used it as intended and I forgot about it. My mom is a busybody clean freak and decided to clean my room. I got home that day and she informed me that my phone is back in its box in the closet and had been cleaned. I wanted to die. Ouch. My mom has some pretty embarrassing photos of me as a child, so I don't know if her finding anything weird in my room would be worse than those photos. My kid ate cat poop. We had a very long-haired cat at the time, rest in peace little buddy. Apparently some poop got stuck in his fur, only to fall out upstairs where the baby was crawling around and found it. 5 years later and she's still a normal, happy, healthy child. Sorry, sweetheart. I saw my flip cam was missing from the table I put it on, and I went to look for it in my 11-year-old son's room. I checked to see if there was anything recorded, and there was. He was spanking the monkey to a magazine of mine advertising women's clothing and underwear. He was commenting about which girl he would like to put his member in. I put the camera back, and when he came home, I asked him to bring it downstairs if he had it. That gave him time to delete the videos. He has no idea I was now hiding my flip cam and ladies' clothing magazines. He will never know that I saw his tiny member being manipulated to images of plus-size women. The only reason I taught my kids how to play poker was so that I could learn their tales when they were lying to me. It started out with them making stupid lies and expecting me to believe them. Yes, Mom, I brushed my teeth. Even though there's clearly still bits of food in between their braces and their toothbrush was bone dry. I figured that teaching them how to play poker would help them learn how to lie better, with the added benefit of learning their mannerisms when they lied in the first place. When my daughter was 3, she bonked my mom in the head with a toy, as 3-year-olds are prone to do. My mom had a blood clotting disease and got a blood clot in her head about a week later and eventually died from it. I'm not sure anyone but me has put 2 and 2 together, and I aim to keep it that way. My daughter had no idea what she was doing because she was 3. She would probably literally end herself if she found out about this, since she is a hair bipolar and gets to really dark places with too much bad news. My mom never seemed to put 2 and 2 together. She had the disease for 13 years and most people only live 6, so she felt very blessed. My wife would be devastated to know this, even though she knows. I don't think she connected both things. She probably doesn't remember my daughter bonking my mom on the head anymore. So I'll never tell them, and that's okay. I agree with the OP here. I would take that secret to the grave. Unless this child grows up to be a giant piece of doo-doo, then I might use the nuclear option. But even then, I might still hesitate. Probably not the answer you're looking for. My son is 4 and he doesn't think I know about the vegetables he puts in his pockets when I'm not looking. Oh, I know alright, cause laundry is fun. My friend's mom used to just puree all his vegetables into familiar sauces like spaghetti and fooled us for years. One of my classmates found out a few years ago that his mom's famous brownies had always had pureed broccoli in them. She was pretty horrified, but it was kind of hilarious. My 3-year-old is a very affectionate little guy, and he's very embarrassed about being affectionate. He thinks I don't know that he comes into my room every morning for snuggles and then sneaks out when I wake up. He's just all around a little shy guy. I just think it's a phase, and he's actually been a lot better lately. I caught my son once pretending to milk himself into a bucket while taking a bath. He was only around 4 years old, so I don't think he remembers, but he was hovering over a bucket and squeezing his member. I asked him what he was doing, and he told me he was pretending it was an udder and he was trying to milk it. I said, "Okay, honey," and slowly closed the door. The end. I went for a walk once with my daughter when she was about a year old. It was a long paved cement path and it went through a little scenic park area. Lots of suburban nature and stuff. I had brought the stroller along, but she was getting a bit antsy, so I took her out and sat her on the handles, facing me, and I held onto her waist and basically used her butt and forearms to push the stroller. As we walked, this section of pavement in front of us just ended up being covered in crickets. I didn't know why there were so many. I had never known this trail to have crazy amounts of crickets midday. Well, I anxiously started to push through them with the stroller, hoping if I moved slowly, they would have time to hop out of the way. They mostly hopped out of the way, but one hopped right onto my daughter's face. I panicked, and in a split-second reaction, I straight up smacked her. The cricket hopped off her face before I got to it, and she looked at me so stunned and started crying. And then I cried because I felt horrible, but I couldn't stop laughing because of how stupid the whole thing was. I got lots of weird looks as I cried/laughed the rest of the short walk home. She will never know. This is definitely one of those life moments that feel horrible but also hilarious at the same time. I'd probably do the same thing because crickets jumping at my face will catch these hands. She was conceived because I really wanted an iced cappuccino from Tim Hortons. He didn't feel like driving, so I made him a deal. It actually ended up being pretty nice in a field under a clear night sky with many stars out. Stay-at-home dad here. I was hoping that I would never need to tell my kids that 2 out of 3 of them served jail time in utero. That kid is probably like, "Dad, I've been meaning to ask, why do I have this teardrop tattoo under my eye for as long as I can remember?" I'll never tell my son that I follow every freaking single comment he makes on Reddit and that I'm the one that gives him the golds. Poor kid will always think that he's such a funny person. Not my kid, but at a family party, my cousin who was about 3 or 4 at the time needed a piss. The party was a buffet, and when his dad took him to the toilet, he discovered that the kid had been secretly threading hula hoop crisps onto his pee-pee. Not sure how well that translates to non-UK people. At least he didn't catch him trying to play the ring toss game with other kids. I will never ever tell my daughter that when she was 1 week old, I accidentally threw her across a room onto a wooded floor. It was about 2 a.m. I was breastfeeding her in the living room and a huge spider crawled on my arm. The whole new baby / late at night thing made me stupid. So my reaction was to use the arm I was holding the baby with to get the spider off my other arm. My little girl went flying. It was horrible. She was fine though, completely unharmed, just kind of pissed off. No one tell her. My son's grandparents have custody of him in Australia. His mother and I were a one-time fling on a beach in North Carolina, along with another girl at the same time. She went to prison for trafficking large quantities of substances in Australia, which is a major offense over there. I think she's serving 25 to life or something. One day I was called by the Australian version of Child Services telling me that I needed to come pick up my son. I didn't even know I had a son until then. He was 7 at the time. Apparently, what had happened was she put my name down on his birth certificate and kept my contact info on a bookmark that hung from her rearview mirror. His grandparents came and got him. They tell him that his daddy is off fighting in the war, and I've only spoken with him twice. I've sent over my part of the paternity test a few times to see if he's actually mine or not, but his grandparents keep ignoring them. I think they're afraid that I will show up one day and take him away. He doesn't really know me, and it would be awkward for me to just take custody of a 12-year-old that doesn't even know if he is mine or not. I think he's going to be pissed if he finds out the truth. So I took a leather-bound journal and wrote all the things about me that I think he should know, along with the real story about why I wasn't around. I've included several stories about me and my time in the army, my travels, and a lot of good advice covering many situations that he might find himself in, complete with glossary and index. I wrapped up this journal along with my own dog-eared copy of the Ranger Handbook, with my own notes written in it, and an old set of my dog tags, and a way to contact me. I sent it off to a lawyer's office in Australia with instructions to deliver it to him on his 18th birthday. I'm looking forward to the Reddit post about the delivery when the time comes. This sounds like something out of a movie, and I tried to see if there was an update to this post since it's been years, but there's nothing. Womp womp. Years ago, we had this awesome cat named Chosen One. We all loved this cat, but especially my oldest son, who at the time was beginning to drive. He was about 17 or so. One day, my son was leaving the house to go somewhere, and when he left, he reached down and gave the Chosen One a little love and went out the door. Unbeknownst to him, the cat had followed him out the door, and for some reason, the cat must have ran under the car. Nobody actually witnessed this event, so we're just speculating on what happened. So my son drives off, and a little while later I go outside only to find Chosen One laying on the driveway curled up in a ball, dead. We think the kitty ran under the car, or it was in front of the tire or something when my son drove away and he ran over Chosen One. We were all pretty upset, of course, and when my son came home, we told him that Chosen One had been hit by a car in the road and died. We never told him, and never will, that we're pretty sure he was the one that killed the cat. He'd blame himself and forever feel guilty about killing his favorite cat. I walked in on my 5-year-old stepson with his pants down, rubbing the cat against his pee-pee, saying, "Oh, that feels nice." To which I replied, "That's not what the cat is for." He was embarrassed, and the cat hasn't been the same since. This story, following the other cat story, is just a bunch of L's for cats. When my first wife was 4 months pregnant, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. At 18 weeks, the doctor gave her a few choices. Her best chance of survival was to give up the baby and have aggressive chemo. We talked about it. She decided to try and carry our son to term. They delivered our son healthy about 6 weeks early. She died about 5 months after he was born. I have since remarried, and he is now almost 18. I don't plan on telling him that she saved him at her own expense. It was a tough time, and I don't blame him and never have. After her mastectomy and a lengthy biopsy, she was found to have an extremely aggressive type of breast cancer. In fact, we found out later that it had spread considerably. The treatment would have been in vain. Even if she had gave him up, her life expectancy would have probably been less than 2 years. We made the choice to keep him before we knew this. Invasive treatments and MRIs / multiple x-rays would have put some risk on my son. So we made a choice. He knows she died of cancer, and he knows that it was soon after he was born, but not the details. He never knew his mom, and he does not grieve for her. It's cold, but it's true. She has written to him a number of letters, the first of which he gets at 18, the next at 21, and the final one when he gets married. They are sealed in private. I have no wish to open them, but it does remain possible that she will detail what happened, although I think it's unlikely, as before she died, she made me promise to protect him from all pain of her illness and decision. Wow, this is so sad. What a brave lady this mother was. Though if I were him, I think I would want to know. to be able to honor the sacrifice she made for me, in a manner of speaking. Maybe you should tell him. I know at 18 I started feeling very weary and without cause or effect. Being told something like that would have strengthened my resolve to do something good with myself. It's like a superhero genesis story. You're right, of course. He is having a rough time with his exams and career choices right now. He wants to ditch going to college and work for a few years, which is probably the right choice for him right now. I'm going to think about it and maybe talk to him in the next few months. To be honest, I'm probably more scared of digging up the pain of the past and having to go over the whole period again. I've not really thought about it for several years until I opened Reddit this morning. Wow, this was a tough story to read, but that mother made the ultimate sacrifice for their kid. I think I would want to know that if I was the child. That I found a treasure hunt that he created as a surprise for his girlfriend on their anniversary. One of the clues was that she should go to the place where he first hooked up with her bum. I should add that they were both adults when they first met, so whatever they do in their private lives is their own business. But I can never unsee that note. Damn, that is the old school version of sending your mom a text that was meant for your girlfriend. Dad here. I know what he's doing with the butter, and that's why I buy store brand for him to make toast at night and leave my good butter alone. And there's a reason I bought her own rechargeable batteries, because it's nice to have any remote actually work when you try to use it. There's not a calculator in the world that goes through batteries like that. Is it really more likely that he uses butter for pleasure? Because nighttime toast is awesome. I do wonder if parents read into things sometimes. I remember my mom and my two aunts talking about kids when I was about 10, and my mom mentioned something about long showers that I used to take. They all kind of laughed, and one of my aunts told me that it was natural. I just remember being uncomfortably in the spotlight for reasons I didn't understand. I was about 20 when I recalled that and realized what the hell they were talking about. I had no clue when I was 10 and honestly just loved being in the shower. Dude, same. My parents were careful not to really mention it. I love taking long hot showers and just standing there getting lost in my own thoughts. But the whole time I knew they thought I was spanking the monkey. I maybe did that once in the shower. It was weird. I just didn't get the appeal. I'm 25 now. Should I call them? I also realized this activity was my first foray into sensory deprivation and meditation. Dude, this is funny because I also like to take long showers and just get lost in thought. So now I'm curious if anyone thought that about me. Not a mom here. When I was 5, my aunt walked into the room while I had a nozzle of a bicycle pump on the tip of my pee-pee. I was trying to pump air inside me to see if I would swell up like a balloon. I didn't know this until my mom told me about it a few years ago when we were having a chat about funny things that happened in the past. Luckily, we don't live close to a bridge because I seriously thought about jumping. How could she think that that would be funny to me? I was mortified. Hey, anything to make it look bigger, am I right? That I wanted to give him to a fire station for a couple of weeks. I didn't tell anyone until he was 2 weeks old because I thought it was something wrong with him and me. I didn't think I loved him and I was so ashamed. I ended up telling my husband in desperation one night and he snatched my son away, telling me that he would find a mommy who actually loved him. Neither of us knew it was severe postpartum depression. I thought I was incapable of that love and my husband thought I was a monster. I'm still battling the postpartum depression and anxiety a year later, but even now I can't believe how much I love him. I love him so much it hurts. I'll never tell my son about that horrible night, but I will tell him that depression and anxiety are never ever shameful. I think this is a smart message to tell children because depression and anxiety are serious things, but man, I question the husband here who didn't seem to try and help his wife. He just called her a monster. It's about my sister, but when she was a baby, my mom tried to give her away because she didn't want her. My dad found out and got her back from the woman. She is 21 and still doesn't know. My mom was suffering from postpartum depression, as told by the Redditors, and now she is good and she loves her more than anything. And we three have decided to keep it as a secret from her until we die. I find it crazy that you can just give a person away and that there are people out there that are willing to take a person that is being given away. Like, at least do it legally. He was conceived after we got lost trying to find a Halloween party at a friend's new place. We ended up going home, but as I was already in a French maid costume, it made perfect sense to get sloshed and forget the birth control. I don't imagine we will tell him that he was conceived in a French maid costume. Actually, who am I kidding? We will totally bust this story out for the future spouse. Went to use the bathroom and I left my 8-month-old on the rug. I found her in the walk-in closet gnawing on my fun stick. Did I learn my lesson? Nope. 4 years later, last week, she found it in my underwear drawer and promptly asked me why I have a dog bone. I've since said thrown Funstick in the trash. That's it for this video. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. And if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. It's linked in the description too. Either way, thanks a lot for watching and we'll see you guys next time.